Co-operative Governance Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma has extended the national state of disaster for another month. The decision has been published in the government gazette. The state of disaster is supposed to last for 3 months but can be extended on a monthly basis. This will be the third time that the Minister Dlamini-Zuma extends the national state of disaster on a month-to-month basis. SABC Political Editor Mzwandile Mbeje joins us now to talk a little bit more about this and the President's address later on at 8 p.m. So, Mzwandile, let's start with the expectations that we are going to have the President address us at 8. What is the atmosphere like where you are at the Union Buildings?
Oh, well, I think every South African is expecting a bit of relief, so to speak, in terms of the easing of restrictions. And I'm saying this because there's been a situation really where the country has shown some steady progress. Even if you listened to that clip that was done by Natasha Perry there is an element of progress in fighting or arresting the spread of COVID-19. So you would know that this has been devastating as well to the economy. So I think first and foremost right now is that how do you get the economy back on track? But you don't have to do that quite recklessly. So what I think many people are expecting is that the President will probably announce a recovery plan. He did indicate in his last address that he will come back and tell South Africans what exactly is needed to do. Because the issue really is that there is a great deal of anxiety and people are under a lot of stress and there's a lot of job losses. But at the same time, the issue of lives is quite important. Even if the country starts to ease slowly, they will be very careful to not repeat the example of the United States, for example, where we saw that the cases were declining and then everyone thought they were out of the woods. And then they just opened and then they were back up and even worse than they were before. I think they will be very careful. You are likely at Tsepiso to hear the President perhaps announce, let's say, maybe beginning of September to say we may move to a lower level, perhaps level 2, but we will also do that in a very measured way because whilst you want to save livelihoods, you don't want to risk lives again.
And so I think that's the whole point because we are at advanced level 3 now because there was an extension of sorts and we've had the cocktail minister now announce that the state of national disaster has been extended by a month. So would it be reading too much into that he will tread very cautiously in lifting the floodgates, so to speak?
I think that is really self-explanatory, Tsepiso. The fact that it's now extended, so it does tell you that we're still going to continue to be under some sort of lockdown. So even as we try to ease restrictions. And this is not really new. I think one of the things perhaps government and the President in particular has really been stressing in the past was that at some point we'll go to lower levels, but we will not be haphazard in how we deal with it. So this is what we are seeing now. And I know many people have their own preferred situations in terms of what should open. It's possible a number of economic sectors will be opened, but bearing in mind that opening those sectors does not compromise the progress that has already been achieved. I think there was a time where everyone was really worried in terms of how the numbers were rising. Yes, they are still very high at Tsepiso. I mean, for a country of a population of 59 million, to compete with countries which have populations of something like 1.3 billion, that's India, or US, which is 303 million. So that tells you that we almost lost it, But if there are then signs that we are able to arrest it, perhaps the government would then be able to act accordingly.
As you pointed out a short while ago, Mzwai, about the international experience of countries who've moved too quickly have borne the brunt of that. You heard the DA interim leader say that a second wave is likely but highly unlikely. But those semantics are going to be very important in what the president is going to announce, especially the regulations around mass gatherings. I'd imagine that those would stay in place, irrespective of whatever easing we're going to see.
Absolutely. I don't think you can risk that, Tsepiso, because if you all of a sudden open up to big gatherings, so we might as well have not closed at all, because we'll go not even back there, we'll go and surpass that, and then our health system will certainly not be able to cope, and then of course many lives would be lost. So, but at the same time, you know, we are somehow lucky that we have been able to monitor what other countries have been doing, those that have been successful. We have seen, for example, how New Zealand treats this kind of a virus. And then we have seen countries that are a bit reckless. We have seen what is happening in Brazil. We have seen what is happening in the United States. So with all that experience, we should be able as a country really to open in a manner that will not reverse all those gains. And the fact that we have brought in international experts from the World Health Organization does indicate to you, Tsepiso, that I think government wants to really stay on course. One of the things they had said was that when it relates to opening of schools, schools must open in the context of low community transmissions. So I think we're headed that direction. So why would you want to then reverse all those gains simply because you feel the pressure that you need to open? Otherwise, it's the people who work the economy. So you have to preserve their lives, because if you have no people, who is going to work the economy? So I think that's the kind of a balance that you really have to strike. So that's why I really suspect strongly that the recovery, the economic recovery plan would be very foremost in President Ramaphosa's mind today.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mzwai. And of course, we will be reconnecting with you later on.